Next, I want to teach you the difference between the brain of a man and the brain of a woman. The brain has two parts. We call them hemispheres. There's the right part, and then there's the left part. The left part of your brain is concerned about emotions, details, feelings, and all that. The right part of the brain of a human being is more concerned about decisions, the big picture, and all that. Now, in men, the right hemisphere is more developed. And in women, the left hemisphere is more developed. What does that mean? It means women are more able to handle emotional things compared to men. And men are able to handle bigger decisions better compared to women. But because the world and the culture has told you, mwanaume ni kujikaza, you find men trying to carry emotional things in their heart and in their mind, of which they have no capacity to do. In the process, what happens? Over time, you crack. Over time, your brain fractures. Over time, your heart fractures. Over your time, your heart breaks. And the breaking of the heart is a reality. Because as you're carrying emotional things which you have no capacity to handle, they overwhelm you. The stress hormones increase. Your heart stops functioning well because the arteries through which they pump blood become narrow and narrow. It's like you have a pump of water, pumping water from the lower tank to the upper tank. If you want to reduce the diameter of the pipe through which this pump is pumping the water, you reduce from maybe 2 inches to the diameter of a straw. What will happen to the pump? He's saying the back pressure will kill the pump. And if the pipe is a bit weak, it may burst. That's why man is arteries in the brain burst. Unasikia amepata nini? Stroke. That's how stroke in men is more common than in women. Because the arteries in the brain, they do what? They burst. Why are they bursting? They become narrow. Over time, the heart is still pumping. The pump, which is the heart, God created it in a way it is pumping throughout. Hiyo itambue eti kale ka artery ka brain ika reduce. Inaendelea kugonga na the same pressure, yeah? Over time, as it increases, your artery in the brain bursts. Unaona mtu amekuwa paralyzed one side of the body. Mnasema huyu ni kama ABCD, but that is the genesis of issues because we have no capacity to handle emotional things. And therefore, what do we do? This is my advice to all men. We should be vulnerable. It's okay not to be okay. If you have an issue troubling you, speak to somebody. If you think they will judge you, speak to a professional. And if you are two men, when your fellow man comes to tell you about issues, unajua leo niko na shida, usimwambie bwana, wewe kwa mwanaume, acha kuniambia maneno, hata mimi niko na yangu. Let's be good listeners to one another. Because when our colleague ladies, when they come to speak to you, unasikiza, unakata unakondoa maji, akipole sana, atuende hapo kunywa kachai. But when your fellow man is speaking to you, hata wewe simwambie tuende kunywa kachai. You know? And we become enemies of one another as men. You are driving on the road. You find another driver getting to the main road badly. Kwanza unaangalia kama ni mwanaume unamtusi, wewe pumbavu hii gari. Kwani unji kuendesha gari? Wewe unasomea wapi? Ukiangalia alowe kioo kidogo aone ni mwanamke, it's okay. Don't worry. Men, if we want to be okay, we must begin to treat one another with dignity. We must begin to listen to one another. We can only be the ones uplifting one another. If you can uplift, ukipata uko na gari na ni usiku, watu wamesimama kwa barabara wananyeshewa, wanakuambia simama. Ukiona ni mwanaume unasema ni wakora. Ni wezi watatuua. Ukiona is a smartly dressed lady, beautiful, unasimama unasema unaenda wapi? Unaweza ingia hapa nyuma. Ulikuwa unaenda huko Delemea? Hata mimi nilikuwa naenda huko. Kumbe hata ulikuwa unaenda hii side nyingine. Lakini mwanaume akikwambia hata kama ulikuwa unasema mimi sisi ya 20 hapo. Haya direction ni sisi ya 20. Men, we can only be a brother's keeper. We can only be the ones encouraging one another. We can only be the ones uplifting one another. The agenda of girl child has been here for too long until the boy child has been forgotten. When you go to medical school, you find a class of 400 students. You have 50 boys and 350 girls. What does that tell you? When you go to the mjengo of 100 laborers, you find 99 men and 1 girl. Men, we must wake up because we have been used to oppress one another. We've been used to torture one another. In a work environment, when there is a crisis and somebody didn't submit their report on time, they come and say, sorry, my child got sick. The boss is a man, is getting this excuse from a man. They will abuse that man. They will tell him, you are very bad, you are lazy, you are ABCD. If the excuse is from a lady, they will say, don't worry. Hata unaweza leta next week. Hii inanga haraka sana. These are realities I've seen in practice. These are realities I've seen in conflict resolution, where men, we are oppressing one another. And we are causing torture in the minds of us because of not being aware that a man is just a human being. Another thing you need to be aware of is what we call the science of gratitude. The science of gratitude. I'll summarize it, but at your own time, there's a podcast done by a neurologist known as Andrew Abman, which talks about the science of gratitude and how to build a gratitude practice. There's a direct linkage between positivity and the mental resilience. There is a direct linkage between positivity and happiness in life. And you can condition your mind to be more positive, hence improving your happiness in life, improving your mental resilience. For those who did science, there is a theory known as the buffalo's theory, where some people were ringing a bell and giving food to the dogs. Over time, the dogs associated the sound of a bell to food. So they were conditioned. The day when they rang the bell, they never gave food to the dogs. When they measured the saliva content, it was high, meaning the dogs had salivated, waiting for food because they had had a bell. If the brain of a dog can be conditioned, you're even seeing some people owning dogs and they have trained them to perform some duties. If the brain of a dog can be conditioned, it means the brain of a human being can be conditioned further. And the conditioning of the brain happens through repetitions. Through repetitions. That's why when a child goes to class 1, anaanza kuambiwa 1, 2, 3 repetitions until they master that. That's why when a child is born in China, they grow up speaking Chinese because they have heard that language several times, repetitions. And therefore in life, you can condition your mind, you can condition your brain on positivity. So the science of gratitude shows that when you become positive continuously, when you remain positive consistently, your brain begins to produce more happy hormones. Your brain begins to produce happy hormones in excess. These happy hormones makes your arteries to be wider. The blood flow improves to different parts of the body. And as that improves, then it means you're gonna live longer. You're gonna stay longer on earth. And when the happy hormones increase, it means at the time of a crisis, you'll be more calm. In the time of adversities, you'll be more composed. Having happy hormones in excess in your body is like having a double turbo engine. You know, life is a journey. It being a journey, it can never be smooth all the time. It can never be smooth all the way. There's a time it's going to be tough. It's like we were driving from Nairobi to Naivasha today. There were sections of the road kulikuwa na mteremko. Some sections kulikuwa na flat, kwingine kulikuwa na kamulima. What matters how you go through the journey is the kind of car you are driving. If you are driving a Kavits, sorry for those who own a Kavits, ukifika kwa mteremko sinateremka tu, ukifika in a flat area inaanza kulemewa kidogo. Ukifika kwa mlima inaanza kufanya nini? Inalemewa zaidi. If you are driving a double turbo engine, I love machines, so I love double turbo engines. So ukiwa unateremka kwa mlima inaenda tu kwa place iko flat. Ukifika kwa mlima bado inasonga. You can prepare your body and your mind to act like a double turbo engine when you are aware that in life there is going to be a situation when things are working well. There is going to be a situation where things are tough. What takes one through a tough situation depends on the content and the amount of the happy hormones you have in your body. And how do you build the levels of happy hormones in your body? It is through the science of gratitude. It is through being positive. Before you see negativity, it's not your problem to see negativity. It's how the brain of a human being is structured. The brain of a human being is structured to see negative first before it gets the positive. And that's why, the journalists, they have done psychology. They know how the human mind works. During the news highlights, they begin by showing you negative news. So they know in the main news item, many people will watch it because they are waiting now for the real news. Wamekaa kwa TV, mtoto akigusa remote anaweza rukongwa suti. Because the brain of a human being is structured to be attracted by the negative first. That's why in the social media here munaangalia kwa TikTok, ukipata watu wana dance na vile way, funny way, hiyo unaondoa macho unaona, okay. Ukipata mtu anaongelea mambo ya stock exchange hii na hiyo unasema unapita unaenda next. Because your brain haishiki hiyo. Si kupenda kwako, it is how it was created. It is how it is structured. But we can change it through conditioning, which I've told you happens through repetitions. So in any given situation, before you see negative, begin to look for positive. And for your brain to look for positive, for your brain to see positive, you have to be intentional about it. You have to be deliberate about it. You have to look for it in any given situation. And when you look for it, you will find it. Before you see mtoto wako haja perform vizuri in school, before you get mad nilipa school fees, sasa wewe unakuja na hii, thank God you have a child. There are many people in the world looking for children they don't get. Thank God mtoto wako anatembea na miguu. Thank God for many things that you are able to conceive. I see many men in depression because they have less sperms and therefore they cannot impregnate anybody. Wewe hata hujashukuru Mungu uko na mtoto umeanza kumutusi wewe kwani unapata. So look for positives in every situation you find yourself, you think it is tough, and you'll find it. And the more you look for positives, the more you repeat the positives in your mind, your body will begin to generate more happy hormones like serotonin, dopamine, endorphins. Just know there are chemicals which make your body relax. And when your body is relaxed, you're able to think well and make decisions better. You are able to judge between gambling and not gambling. You're able to decide and say, gambling is going to make me waste my money. You're able to know this is a wrong investment I'm going to make. And you change your resources into another investment opportunity. You are able to tell this is a wrong friend. He's advising me wrongly. Let me drop this friend of mine. It can only happen when your brain is functioning well. It can only happen when you have more happy hormones. How do you generate? Through the science of gratitude. Another thing which affects men, mental health, is keeping secrets. Keeping secrets. Na hiyo sometimes mnadanganyana. Unaambiwa unajua mwanaume lazima akuwe na account ameficha mahali. Mwanaume lazima anunue plot afiche mahali. Simu iko na password inaenda zigizagi inarudi chini inapanda juu. All secrets that you keep, they increase the stress hormones in your body. And they lead to events which I've told you. So men, there is nothing as detrimental to men in this world as keeping secrets, especially at family level. If you married and you made a decision, be open. Say the way it is. Be honest. Kama hauna pesa, sema sina pesa. Kama huwezi fanya hii, sema hiyo siwezi. If you can't afford school fees in this school and people are pushing you to take your child there, say, I don't have money for this school, I have money for this other one. And that's what I'm able to do. If you can't afford some items in the house, be honest and say, I can't afford. This is what I'm able to do. Being honest is not a sign of weakness. It is the journey to freedom for men. Lying that you have money and you're calling your friend, nitumie 5K M-Pesa hapo nitakurudishia kesho. When you know tomorrow, hata hiyo 5K hakuna mahali unatoa. Kesho yake inafika, unaulizwa lete ile ulini, kuna something I'm working on njioni. So being honest is a key freedom for men. Another thing is keep your phone, because these phones for men zimeleta matatizo mingi sana. Keep your phone a public property in the house, because if you made a decision to stay with that person, si wewe uliamua, na kama hujaamua toa yeye, leta mwenye umeamua. There's no need of staying with a person who again you are hiding, uko unapiga tu kona. That is the source of stress in men. So phone hakuna password. Mtu akipiga simu weka loudspeaker, watu wote wako hapo wasikize. Yeah, you make it a practice. Hata yeye mnaweka hivyo, hata yeye akipigiwa loudspeaker, kila mtu anasikiza. I also practice that. So I'm not telling you things from the blues. I'm a father, I'm a husband. My phone, my wife can go with my phone, akae nayo hata 1 week na nirudishie. I can also go with her phone, nikae nayo 1 week na nimrudishie. Na hakuna matatizo, because there is no secret. So from today, kama kuna secret ulikuwa umeweka, enda kwanza udili nayo. First, go eliminate the secrets. And you have a discussion on keeping things on the table. Once you have agreed, then you begin to practice slowly by slowly. If there are complications, that's why we are there. Come to us. Let's discuss those issues, so that then we can help you move on with an open life without secrets. Another thing which I want to teach you is characteristics of women, because we are men. Acha niwafunze kidogo vile wanawake waliumbwa and how to handle, because sometimes families break because of issues which could be solved. So kitu ya kwanza unatakana kujua, wanawake waliumbwa kuuliza maswali. Waliumbwa kuuliza maswali. Awe professor, awe mtu ajaenda shule, awe nani, they were structured to ask questions. Munakaa hapa anakuuliza na Nakuru kunanyesha? Na mko hapa na yeye, si ndio? Sasa kama wewe ujui, unapata wanaume wengine wanakasirika, anasema sasa mimi ni Mungu, kwani unatisitu hapa unakasirika. Wewe jibu swali, and your answer should not be accurate. Si lazima useme accurate. Wewe unaangalia unasema naona hizi clouds vile zimeenda huko, kunaweza kuwa kunanyesha. Na hiyo story imeisha hapo, na amekuwa satisfied. Lakini kama ujui, unakasirika, sasa vita inatokea, Sasa watu wanakosana, unasema hata mimi nimeenda, acha unaenda huko na muacha hapa. Sasa wanasema mtu alafu unapata what we call acute stress syndrome. Acute stress syndrome is when emotions will get worked up. Unasikia mpaka kichwa inawaka moto, unasema in the process you are damaging your organs. All right? In the process you are damaging your organs. So kitu kingine ingekuwa kidogo, it leads into other things. So we jua they were born to ask questions. Na kazi yako ni kujibu. Isikwe accurate. Wewe jibu yeyote unajibu, hiyo ni answer. So don't look for accuracy. You're trying to think too much. No. Just answer question. All right? Another thing is their brain works like a tape recorder. Tape. Si unakumbuka ile radio cassette ya kitambo inasunguka hivi. Unaweza rewind, sema hiyo nyimbo ni tamu sana. Hebu rewind. Ina rewind tena inaanzia. Si namna hiyo. Sasa brain yao iliumbwa ikiwa hivyo. Na si kupenda kwao. Okay? Lakini lazima niwaambie maneno so that you understand. So you don't get worked up over some small issues in life which end up damaging your arteries. Kaoga yuko chini kanaanguka, brain yuko juu inaanguka, sasa unakuwa maisha hii ni ngumu sana, unakuwa na stress. You know? So their brain was built like a tape recorder. Ile kitu ilifanyika 1999 January. Anakumbuka tarehe, masaa na kara ya suti ulikuwa umevaa hiyo siku. Na mlikuwa wapi? Sasa umekataa kujibu swali, unaanza kukasirika kwa nini anakuuliza swali. Umekasirika hapa kidogo, ameleta ile ana rewind tape. Chwa, ina lift. Inaleta hapa sasa. Inaanza kuplay. The way this playing now, it works you up more. The way this playing, it works you up more. Remember nimewaambia brain ya mwanamke left hemisphere is more developed na inakuwa concern mambo ya details. Wewe hauna brain ya details because your brain hukumbiwa namna hiyo, hata kitu kumbuki. Sasa wanakuwaka hapo unasema nini mnaanza kukosana. So how do you survive on that? When that tape starts playing music ya 1999, wewe sikiza. Okay? Wewe fanya nini? Sikiza. Kwa sababu hiyo ni radio cassette. Wewe sikiza. Ukafanya hivi, okay. Hiyo ni story na ni musiki. Let it be music to your ears. Listen. Don't respond. Kwani musiki kiimba, wewe unaanza kurespond kwa musiki, si unasikiza kama musiki? What is the role of music? For you to listen, not to respond to the music. So that is music. Listen. Okay. Inaimba. Kaseti inaisha. Sasa inaisha hivyo. Na story inaishia hapo. Some things are not for your response. When you try now to argue, hapana kwa nini unaleta hiyo vitu tulikuwa tumeongea, nini, you get worked up because hauna brain ya emotions, cortisol hormone inaongezeka, hata hizi zinaendelea kuwa narrow, you are damaging your life for no good reason. On things you could have just listened, na hiyo story inaishia hapo. So be aware, that's how their brain was structured. Hata ukienda uongee na friend yake ambaye ni mwanamke, akwambia huyo ni mbaya, vitu mkiongea inaishia huko. Kwani anazileta hapa saa hii, anakudanganya. Ukimwoa hata yeye atabehave namna hiyo. Even worse. Akishabit hapo an act because your brain ni ile. It is how it was structured. So men, stop being worked up on things beyond your control. You have no control on how that brain works. Another thing is wanapenda kusema ni wao wamefanya. Ukijenga nyumba anasema nyumba ni yangu nimejenga. Anasema nyumba ni yangu. Na wewe umejenga? Pesa yote ni yako, lakini anasema nimejenga nyumba. Kucha mama muone nimeshajenga hapa. Okay? Wewe hata unasaulika anasema in your brain you begin to get worked up. Kwa nini hata anitaja? Why is she not mentioning me? Is me was built? Kuna mahali amenitaja. Wewe relax. Their brain was structured to be mimi ndiye nimefanya. So even how to avoid problems. Ukitaka kununua kiti kwa nyumba, enda na yeye. Okay? Unasema acha tuende tununue kiti. Nafika kwa duka. And you can still make the decision, but make her look like she's the one who make the decision. Unasema, tununue kiti gani sasa? Tununue kiti gani sasa? Anaangalia, anasema, hii. Unamwambia, hii ni mzuri sana. Lakini unasema, na kuna ile nyingine, unaonaje na ile? Hii na kama mtoto wangu John anapenda kurukia hii, anaweza rukia mzuri sana. Anasema, hata hiyo ndio mzuri. At the end of the day, wewe ndio umeamua ni kiti gani, si ndio? Lakini yeye ndiye bado anaona ni yeye. Ukienda kununua suti, usiende peke yako. Enda na yeye. Unamwambia hii suti, nataka kununua suti, hebu angalia ni gani mzuri hapa. Anaangalia anasema, hii ni mzuri. Anambia, this is the best. Na kuna safari nyingine nilienda nikaona mwingine amefanya kama hii, unaonaje na hii? Anasema hata hii ni mzuri. Bado ndio umechagua, lakini bado anasema nie. Ukiwa umevaa suti anasema nimevalisha huyu mwanaume. Nimemvalisha. Lakini nani amelipa? Ni wewe. Nani aliamua? Ni wewe. Alright? Sasa maana inakuwa mzuri, unapata amefurahia kwa nyumba, anasema hii vitu yote nimenunua hapa. Suti nimevalisha mwanaume yangu hapa, boyfriend nimemvalisha. Sasa hiyo unakuwa na amani. Hata chakula ikipikwa, inapikwa ikiwa smart. Usipofanya hivyo unaleta kitu kwa nyumba from nowhere. Unaangaliwa unapikiwa chakula ambayo ni kali, mboga mbaya. Unaletewa matunda mengine ni kali, unaenda kutafuna hivi, matunda. Wewe hujui ni nini imetokea, matunda hii mboga inakaa namna gani? Kwa sababu sasa mtu anaona hapa umtambui. Sasa na yeye anakupanish side nyingine. Unaanza kulalamika, hii mboga ni mbaya, anasema. Ni kiti sasa. Hata anaanza kufikiria kuna mtu mwingine alikusaidia kuchagua kiti. So to be in peace. Mnaenda na yeye. At the end of the day you end up making all decisions, but make her feel like she participated. They like being involved. They like being involved. Another thing, sometimes they set they set children against men. How do they do it? As a man, you find you are so busy doing everything. School fees ikilipo unampatia, enda alipa school fees. Anaenda na mtoto kwa bank, anasema nimelipa shule fee, nimelipa school fees, nimekulipia. You are so busy, mtoto anataka uniform, unampea pesa enda mununue. Mtoto anaona mama amenunua uniform. Mama amelipa school fees. Wenda shopping ya supermarket, unapatiana pesa enda kwa sababu you are too busy with your fellow men. Mama amefanya shopping. Sasa wewe ukiwa baba, kazi yako ni gani? Kwa huyu mtoto. They change their psychology. Later in life, mtoto akipata kazi, wewe ukipewa kama baba wa nyumba 100, mama anapewa 3,000. Mtoto akienda Amerika, mama anakatiwa tickets, mzee anaacha village. Akiwa anasurura hapo na pakora. My son is in America. They tune the psychology of children against you early in life without your knowledge. Kuanzia leo, kaa uko na mtoto, create time for your child. The presence of a father in the early developmental stage of children gives them confidence in life. Ikifika ni shule ya wazazi shuleni, siku ya wazazi shuleni, create time, go there, keti hapo. Ikifika ni school fees na wewe ndio uko na pesa, enda na mtoto kwa bank na muambie sasa hii ni school fees tunalipa hapa. Ikifika ni kununua nguo ya watoto, enda na yeye mtoto nunua hapo, mtoto akiona. I'm trying to help you prevent social isolation later in life when you are old as a man. Men suffer from social isolation in old age, which leads to depression, dementia, and early deaths amongst men because of how you've been set against your whole society. Ikifika now when you see you're being isolated, mawazo inaanza kuwa mingi kwa kichwa, unaanza kujichukia, unaanza kujiuliza hii time yote nimefanya hii kazi hakuna mtu ananitambua. In the process, men get to die early. How to prevent it is by practicing some of the things I'm telling you. Another thing you need to know as a man, the world owes you nothing and you owe the world nothing. The world owes you nothing and you owe the world nothing. Sometimes we work as if we want to solve all problems in the world. Hata Mungu pekee hawezi maliza mashida ya dunia. Na yeye ndiye alituumba. But you work as if you want to solve everything. Ukipiwa simu kutoka nyumbani na ndugu yako, nitumie pesa, unataka kutuma. Mtoto akaenda school fees, unaanza kutafuta ya mkopa, ya mswali, unatuma. Ukipatana na hii, unataka kusolve. That damages your brain and your mind over time. At the time of need, when now you expect to receive, there's nobody to give you anything. Wanakuangalia kwani umeka yote amefanya kazi, angejisaidia. The same people who wanasaidia ndio wanauliza hiyo maswali. And then leave you in a very difficult situation. You begin to get stressed. You begin to regret your life. Remember, in life, you owe the world nothing and the world owes you nothing. Solve what you are able to solve within your limits. What you are not able, let it be. Si tuko kanisani. Ukienda hapa town, si unapata watoto kwa streets. Si namna hiyo. Kwa nini wako huko? Na kuna serikali. Ukienda Nairobi, unapata so many children in the streets. Wanalala wengine wa Karafat. Mbona wako hapo na kuna serikali? Na wewe uko hapa as an individual trying to solve all societal problems. That brings heaviness of stress and it leads to the events which I've told you. Learn to deal with the things beyond, learn to deal with the things within your sphere of control. Whatever is outside your sphere of control, let it be. It's okay. Like for example, unasikia housing levy iko lazima ulipe kutoka kwa your payslip. Unaanza kuwa na stress sasa, hii serikali imeweka housing levy sasa, and you can't stop it. Let it be. It should not be in your mind. Let it be. Because as an individual, you can't stop it. You have no control over that. Another thing you have no control over is the behavior of human beings around you. You are walking along the road, unapata, ama you are driving, Unapata hata driver anaingia wrongly, unaanza kumtusi na umjui, hata yeye hakujui. Yet you can't control their behavior. Let it be, relax. Sema huyu akona shida zake, relax. Don't try to solve things beyond your control. That is what damages our minds over time. Because tunang'ang'ana kubeba elephant. Utabeba elephant. Things beyond your control, let them be. Another thing I want to tell you is the generation of children now is different from how we grew up, some of us. There is a study which has been done in rodents, which shows that the increase of electromagnetic waves in the environment has an effect in the development of the brain of rodents. And we know what has an effect in the development of rodents can equally has an effect on the development of human beings. This means children who are born at the time of technology, phones, all these electronic items we have around, their brain has been affected. The development of the brain has been affected by those electromagnetic waves because the concentration now is very high. Therefore, how they think, how they reason, and how they behave is very different. If you try to force them to behave and think in a given way, you crush their brain. And that's why many young people now are resulting to use substances and other maladaptive or illicit coping mechanisms because of parenting. One thing to do is to understand their brain works faster and things very fast. So what you're supposed to do is to listen more to them rather than instructing more. When you instruct, you're trying to stop that brain from functioning, from running. In the process, you crash it. When you crash it, what happens? The sequelae events, including destruction, demonstrations, use of weed, and many other things will follow. So in parenting, this generation, you're supposed to listen more and dialogue more as opposed to instructional way of guiding. So akikuja akikwambia, oh nataka kupanga hivi na hivi, oh mimi nataka kuwa musician, nataka masomo, mimi ni musician. Usimwambie hii mambo ya musician sitaki kusikia hapa. Lazima usome. Ask him or her, kwa nini unataka kuwa musician? Anakuambia 1 2 3, unamuuliza, have you done any research and understood how does one become a musician? So you are having a conversation. You are supposed to have a conversation. That's the difference. Lakini kama unaenda ile style nyingine tulikiro nayo kipoko twa, no, you will crush that brain. Another reason why that brain is working that way is because of nutrition that has changed. 90% of happy hormone we call serotonin is produced from the gut. And the production depends on what we eat. People being born now and some years back, they are growing in an environment where they are consuming a lot of manufactured food, which contain chemicals which prevent the production of that happy hormone in the gut. And then what happens? Their mental resilience is reduced. Their mental resilience is hindered. Small issues, they get really overwhelmed. Something ulikuwa unaenda shule, mwalimu anakuambia, like me, my teacher, when I was in primary school, alikuwa ananitusi, ananiambia wewe uko na macho kubwa kama nyanya. Matogoro. For those who understand that word. Mtoto wa saa hii akiitwa matokoro atalia, atakataa kwenda shule, you know. So the food they consume has contributed to their mental resilience. But we can salvage by beginning to focus more on indigenous food when we can and reduce the amount of manufactured food they consume. Another thing we can do is to reduce access to electronic gadgets for young children, because the children are being turned into machines. From morning to evening, ako kwa simu, ako kwa nini, akitaka kuandikia girlfriend message, anaenda kwa chat GTP. Anasema, write a message, a sweet message to my girlfriend. Inaandika cha 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 cha, yeah, ana forward. Hakuna thinking, they are reduced. Why? Because they are on the machine. So as a parent, if you have young children, reduce access, and you can manipulate them psychologically. Waambie ukiangalia katuni sana ina damage brain. Hiyo wanasikia, it damage brain. That's what I've done for my children. They know cartoon watching damages their brain. You can find them in the house the whole day, na kuna TV, kuna internet, they are not watching those things. They are not watching those things. Because the more they watch, like I was speaking with a news person, he was telling me the content, some of the content in those cartoons is so bad that it is changing even the thoughts of these young children. They're even teaching them this thing, Museveni amekataa Uganda, you know, LGBT. Some of the cartoons contain that content. And they learn over time. Akisha kuwa teenager, ama 20s hapo, here now, the brain has been conditioned. Conditioning is a reality. Those cartoons are conditioning the children in the wrong direction. Because conditioning, I told, is by repetition. So they keep watching those things every day. They believe that that's the right direction to move to. How to stop it? Restrict access to machines only for schoolwork. Beyond there, tell them excess of this, it will damage the brain. Their nature is they want reasons. Sikuambia sitaki muone katuni, hapana. I've told you it's about conversations. Give them a good reason. Once you give them a good reason, they will stop it and they will understand. So with those, I want to summarize by saying this, and then we are going to have a question and answer session, because we intend to finish by 4:30 so that we can have our time. I want to summarize by saying this. As men, we are who we believe we are. As a man, you are who you believe you are. And believe is something very powerful. If you believe you are great, then you are. Never wait for external approvals. Believe in yourself. Trust in yourself. And love yourself. So that when you don't get external approval, already you have approved yourself. You are not in any stress. If nobody says they love you, already you love yourself. If they don't do it, it's okay. You didn't expect it. Because you're okay. When you believe in yourself, you don't need anybody to say to you, you have done great. What you have done, you believe it is great. If nobody appreciates it, it's okay. You didn't expect it. Internal happiness, internal approval is more powerful than external approval. And the more internal approval you have, the more happy hormones are generated in your body. And the more happy hormones you have, the more resilient you become during a crisis. The more resilient you become during adversities. The more you'll be able to ignore small talks, somebody abusing you, wewe ni panya, unaanza kukasirika. Na unajua ndani yako huwezi kuwa panya. Kwani utakuwa kapanya saa hii utembea hapa chini tukupeka ugali ukule? Some people get worked up over simple things. Eti huyu amenitusi, ameniita ng'ombe. Kwani wewe utajua ukue ng'ombe? But when you don't believe in yourself, you tend to believe the things which people tell you, and then they work you up, which end up in a crisis, emotional dysregulation, stress, depression, and all that. How to prevent it? Believe in yourself. When you believe in yourself as a man, no matter what people say to you, it doesn't matter. You call it a small talk. Unasema that is a small talk, and you move on. When you believe in yourself, you'll be able to make correct investments. When you believe in yourself, you'll be able to handle your finances carefully and in a good way. When you believe in yourself, you will avoid gambling. When you believe in yourself, you will avoid impulse buying. When you believe in yourself, you will avoid bad friends who tell you, hii tunafanya namna hii. If you believe in yourself, you will say no. If you don't, unaanza kujidoubt. Unaambiwa, ukiweka kinyonsi hapa, it will do very well. Hii ni location mzuri. Because you don't believe in yourself, unaenda unaweka hapo. You can see in your heart, yes, yeah, he is a bad location. 1 month, mteja moja. Second month, wawili. Unamuuliza, naulisema hapa kuna watu wengi na walikuwa wananitumia watu. Anakuambia ni kama hii rangi umepaka. Hii rangi umepaka ni kama ni mbaya. You need to change the color of your paint for your kinyonsi. Nasema nyewe ni kama hii rangi ya yellow si mzuri, wacha nipake blue. Unapaka. Hakuna wateja. Sasa na imekuwa aje? Ni kama hujaweka bana mzuri. Pana hii jina ulichagua ni mbaya. Hii jina watu hawapendi jina kama hii. 1 year down the line, umewaste pesa. Hakuna kitu unafunga. Pesa yote imepotea. Why? Because you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in your instincts. You depend on other people. That's how you end up spending money unnecessarily. You end up making wrong investments. Unaenda kununua kaplot na unasema unaona kama hii shamba iko kwa maji. Mvua ikinyesha unauliza na unaona vizuri. Mvua ikinyesha si hapa kunaweza kuwa swamp. Unaambiwa hapana, hapa ni nakuanga na a lot of fertility hapa. Ukipanda mahindi inaenda juu. Unasema hapa mimi kama mimi ndio sioni vizuri. Unanunua kashamba hapo. Mvua inanyesha, maji inapita hapo, inakuwa mtaro. Kwa namna hii, shamba imepotea, pesa imepotea. Because you don't believe in yourself. So wrong financial decisions come because people don't believe in themselves. So from today, if you want you to be okay mentally, begin by believing in yourself, trusting yourself, and loving yourself. You will never go wrong. And in time of a crisis, remember these 3 principles. You start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Those are another principles of financial management. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. You can never go wrong. With those remarks, I want to thank you and thank Dr. Makumba for inviting me. By the way, my talks, I charge. But I'm not charging you even a coin. For 1 hour, I charge 100,000 Kenyan shillings. Because I believe in myself. Because I value myself. Because I value my time. and without apologies. Those are principles I'm telling you to have. You will never go wrong. Thank you, and God bless you. So we can have a session for questions and comments, and Sarara will handle that session, but I'll be there to respond to those questions and comments. Thank you.
What do you say? I think it has been a very powerful session, and there are various takeaways that we all need to take home in summary. And it is okay not to be. That is the key message. It's okay not to be. And the first thing in identifying our issues is just to have self-awareness, where we are at the moment, and what best can we do. So there's various set of questions which are here. I think Salala will help me. Perhaps maybe I'll be reading some, and he's going to read some. So these are some of the questions which have been raised by the congregation, and they are very important. But I think the theme today was not about men crying, but it was just part of the example we are giving about emotional awareness, whereby we said it is okay to cry. Crying is one of the response. We're trying to teach ourselves on how to respond to stress factors rather than reacting to stress factors. Because most of the time, what we usually do is to react rather than responding when situation arises. So the first question is, sometimes men cry because of being overjoyous. What happens with this hormone? For example, when a son or daughter graduates from college.
Okay. Whenever we have something good or something bad, we usually have different emotions in expressing that. Sometimes it can be sad emotions, sometimes positive emotions. Because we have positive emotions and also we have the negative emotions. And sometimes, most of the time, crying is usually taken as a negative emotion. But sometimes, looking at that particular question, it can be a cry of joy, tears of joy, right? Somebody is happy. Maybe something good came about. So in the process of discussing it, tears come out, tears of joy, right? And this is where Daktari was talking about. If you consume a lot of energy or you talk more about negative things, it affects you internally, right? But if you talk more of positive things and perceive positive things, relate to positive things, it will be more positive. So these tears of joy, these are basically emotions being relayed, and these are positive emotions. It doesn't mean whenever one cries, those are negative emotions. Sometimes are positive emotions, depending with the situation at hand. So one thing we need to know is that emotions are never permanent, right? It's like an oscillation. In the morning you can be sad, and in the afternoon you can be happy, depending with the situation that has happened. So as Daktari has talked about the happy hormones, the dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and all that, right? You find that whenever something good happens, there's an increased release of this hormone into your bloodstream. So the emotions that will be prevail will be more of positive emotions compared to negative emotions, right? And we also have these negative emotions, but we have to know how to manage the negative emotions more. Because if we are not able to manage the negative emotions, they'll continue affecting our mental health status. Because if you are in a negative state for a longer period of time, you can end up infecting also the people around you with that particular energy. As it affects you, it also affects the people around you, right? So at the end of the day, whenever something good happens, there's always a reaction. And most of these times, it's usually the happy hormones being released, and the emotions that will follow will be positive emotions. So it doesn't mean that whenever one cries is only a negative emotion or something negative has happened. Also something positive can lead to one crying. Those tears of joy. Maybe you've been praying something to God and you've been waiting for it. At long last it comes, right? You can end up crying. And this is just an illustration that you are happy and these are positive emotions.
Thank you so much, Salale. I think there are some things we are learning about hormones today. We are in a medical school. We have endomorphins, which are positive hormones. We have dopamine. When you're able to achieve something, it's more of a reward. When maybe you're in a relationship, you are bonding with someone, there's what we call oxytocin. Now, the next question is, what harm is caused by quietness? How often is crying good? I think it's a measure of how crying is good. And what is the impact of using a cell phone for a long time?
Okay. Kindly just repeat the first question.
So, the first question is, what harm is caused by quietness?
Yes. At the end of the day, what we're just trying to talk about is we're encouraging men to come forward and talk about whatever challenges they're going through, right? So whenever something happens and you decide to keep quiet on it, Daktari has talked about keeping secrets, right? You buy a land somewhere and you say, I'm not going to tell my wife, because maybe if my wife knows that I have these properties out there, she'll start planning for me. I'm sorry if I know we have a certain tribe that usually relate negative things to it, right? I'm sorry if we have members from that particular tribe, but it's all aware to us. We are all aware about this. Whereby we usually say that at the end of the day, your life might go, right? If you tell them everything. But remember, the more you store a lot of negative things or sad things inside you, it's like just a time bomb, just waiting for a point to explode, right? So I'll encourage us to come forward, talk about these issues, because a problem shared is a problem half solved. Compared to you keeping quiet with a problem, and maybe the next door neighbor can help you provide a solution or help you get a solution to that particular problem. So let us come forward, talk about these issues, because the more we keep quiet on issues or we sit on issues, it's like we are just suppressing them, and it's just a matter of time before they explode.
Or maybe just a follow-up question on this. Most men do tend to have self-sabotage mechanism when we are in stress. And the most common self-sabotage mechanism is either self-isolation or indulgence in something,
Yes.
or any addiction that most men have, which are unique to themselves, where they know. So if you find yourself in such a situation where you are self-sabotaging yourself, how best can you get from this coping mechanism?
Thank you for that. We have the issue of self-isolation, right? And what he's basically talking about, self-sabotaging, right? Because whenever we have sometimes problem, we usually tend to believe that nobody's going to help us. So, or we get ashamed, or we feel discriminated. We feel we'll be discriminated when we share about this particular issue. But at the end of the day, that's what we think, not what is in their mind, right? That's what I've thought about, not what they are thinking about. I need to be able to approach them, talk to them about it, and hear their response, rather than assuming what I'm not aware of. Because at the end of the day, whenever there's a problem, it's good to keep in contact with your family members, friends, or colleagues, people that you can trust, people who know you, people who understand you, people who know the challenges you're going through. Because it's only you reaching out, either to friends or professionals. But at the end of the day, we also have the positive coping mechanism. And sometimes one cannot be able to engage in this positive coping mechanism because of instability. They are not stable. So in such a scenario, I usually recommend we reach out to healthcare providers or professionals to be able to guide us, because they'll be non-judgmental, they'll be empathetic, and also they'll validate whatever we are sharing, and there'll be an aspect of confidentiality. So there'll be no worry of you sharing your issues and then your issues being all over, right? So I'll recommend we reach out to professionals. Let us not fear, let us embrace therapy, and it's not a form of being given advice, and it's not a form of weakness, but a form of strength.
So the other questions are kind of repetitive, but I'm going to read two in one. One is from David Otieno. He says, men normally have difficulty in shedding tears, if I get that right. What else can men do in order to easily get tears? And perhaps maybe on top of that question is, when you're speaking about crying, does it mean either physical crying or just emotional crying? What kind of cry are we talking about? Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. In most cases, men don't usually cry as you see their tears falling down, right? You can only tell from their voice or their tone that this man is crying inside, right? So that tonal variation will be able to tell you if this man is crying or not. And it doesn't mean if you're crying, tears have to come. Yes, it's good for those tears to flow, but sometimes your tone can signify that you're crying for help, right? The tonal variation, right? How you present that can also be able to tell us if a man is in trouble or a man is crying, right? So mostly how a man talks, you'll be able to know if this man is under pain or undergoing pain, right? By how they are expressing themselves. So it doesn't have to be the literal tears falling down, but also from their tone and their voice, how they are communicating. You can be able to tell.
Thank you, Salale. I think the crying bit has been most of the questions have emphasized on crying, and it's good that we have what we call emotional cry. It's not necessarily a physical cry that you see through the tears. So there's an announcement. All elders currently serving in site church, I think, to meet the pastor outside. Yeah. But if in any case there's any correction, I'll make the announcement. So now, in follow-up of the cry, someone has said good presentation. I think one of the reasons why men do not shed their tears is because they are created that way and cannot force emotional tears. I think that has been answered. They also fear to share their stressful issues because they do not trust people they should share issues with. They fear that people they open up to, they speak to others about it, which may bring more stress. What can such a man do? Is he predestined or predetermined to die early?
Yes.
And perhaps maybe, I think, all about trust issues among men.
So, and this is where I bring in the aspect of professionalism or reaching out to professionals, right? Because I usually discourage the issue of talking to your confidant. Because the same way you have a confidant, that person also has a confidant, right? Maybe it's at work. You've shared your issues with a colleague. So the next day when you're coming to the office, they're like, ndio huyo. Ile mambo nilikuwa nakwambia, tuliongea naye jana. You see? But remember, we have professionals. We have Dr. Rocco. We have Grace out there, right? People you can share with, and they can assure you of that confidentiality aspect. So, no man is going to die alone. No human being is going to die alone because help is there. Professionals are there. Let us reach out to them. And as I said earlier in my presentation, therapy is not about being given advice, right? It's just you collaboratively working together with the therapist to come up with good coping mechanisms or strategies on how to address the problem. So at the end of the day, I'll encourage us from today. Let us reach out to professionals. let us talk about the issues affecting us. Come for a session. We've had a session, and then we meet in the supermarket. I'll not greet you. Right? Maybe you don't want to be seen talking to Salala because Salala works in a mental hospital. Right? So I'll avoid you only until when you greet me is when I'll greet you. Because I'm not sure if you want to be seen talking to me when I'm working in a mental health institutions. Right? So I'll allow you to greet me first, and then I'll greet you back in a good way. But if you don't greet me and we meet in the therapy room, we'll just laugh. I saw you the other day. How are you? You're doing fine? That's nice, right? And life continues. We talk about the issues at hand, right? Yes. So let us reach out to professionals, and we'll be able to address the problem.
Correction for the announcement that I made earlier. All elders serving in site district to meet outside. Site district, not site church. Thank you. As we proceed, there are more questions. Someone asked, this is coming from Samuel, whereby he said, how do I solve stress, which perhaps it has taken a physical toll at a point whereby it makes him look older than his actual age due to lack of money? And how does he solve it? He's in a dilemma.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do I solve stress that has made me look older due to the issue of money, right? First, I want to say that we have various ways on how to address or solve stress, right? And I was talking in the morning, one thing I talked about is the use of diversion techniques, right? And this use of diversion techniques involves things like exercising, for example, going for a jog, going for a walk. We have people who like sleeping. We have people who like swimming, right? By looking at your hobbies or by looking at activities that you like partaking in, right? And then you engage in some of those activities. Another way to solve the stressful situation is the aspect of the journaling, whereby you have something like a book. You write down the stressful situation, how it made you feel, how you reacted to it, right? What coping mechanisms you intend to use. You implement those mechanisms and then just come back to review and see what worked well and where you didn't perform as per the expectation using the coping mechanism that you intended to use. And then we have the 4A's. Avoid, accept, alter, and adapt, right? Depending on the situation at hand. And then we also have the mindfulness activity, and this one involves things like the breathing exercises, right? We have a number of breathing exercises, but allow me to demonstrate one, whereby you close your eyes, you close one nostril, you breathe in using the open one, you hold it inside, you close it, you exhale using the other one. You inhale using the open one, close it, exhale using the other one. And you can do that for a number of times, right? And then I talked about the problem-solving technique when I gave an example of you going back home, meeting your wife with another man, right? Whereby we need to be able to define a problem properly first, think through the problem, look at the possible solution, pick the best, implement, come back to review. See where you went right and where you didn't go right. But also at the end of the day, we have what we call the grounding techniques, whereby you focus on what you can see, hear, smell, and touch, right? Because in mental health, we have what we call triggers. And we have 4 main types of triggers. We have external triggers, we have internal triggers, we have trauma triggers, and we have symptom triggers. An example of an external trigger is, this involves our think senses, smell, touch, texture. Maybe you lost a loved one, and they used to put on a certain type of cologne. So you walk into a matatu, and you're able to smell that type of cologne. It's able to bring back the memories of this loved one that you lost. And then internal triggers. This one is to deal with our emotions. And as I talked about emotions not being permanent, right? They change, right? So in the morning you can be feeling sad, in the evening happy, and that can also, in terms of what you're going through, precipitate you to that particular issue. And then we have trauma triggers. For example, our soldiers of war who are in Haiti, right? They come back during the December holidays. We have the fireworks. It reminds them of the life they are living on the other side, right? And then symptom trigger, maybe our loved ones suffered through a particular condition. You've seen them suffering, the symptoms and the signs. And maybe you go through those particular symptoms. So another person, you see them going through those particular symptoms. It brings back these particular memories. So at the end of the day, we have various ways on how we can solve stress, right? But the most important thing, you need to always be self-aware about yourself. You need to always acknowledge, right, what's the issue. Accept the mistake. Accept your role in whatever situation you are in, right? Because the first stage is usually acceptance. And when you look, for example, at something like loss and grief, right? Maybe you lost a loved one, and maybe you're undergoing that particular stressful situation. You just have to remember there's no a correct amount of time for one to be able to grieve, right? You can grieve for 1 year. You can grieve for 10 years because of what we call the triggers. Because at some point you can always get triggered. Because when you look at the stages of grieving, the acceptance, denial, bargaining, anger, and all that, right? You can reach the final stage, but again go back to that anger stage, right? Just being angry, right? And then you have again to work through the process to reach where now you accepting the problem.
I think that's a very extensive answer. And partly it has answered this question, but I want to put some keywords that you might respond to it. So this is pertinent to most men. How do you deal with a spouse who takes advantage of your silence to torment you and constantly provoke your anger? And in this, there are certain key texts, the keywords I want you to also expound on it. In relationship to either spouse or friends or even colleagues, manipulation, how do you deal with someone who's manipulating? How do you handle people, perhaps maybe we can say they lack empathy in how they respond to situations or how they carry out their activities? And lastly, how can you differentiate, because the way most of our society or culture has brought us is for us to have kindness. But now kindness, authority, the kind of authority we pressure to our children, it has led our lives to be nice people rather than kind people. So how do you separate between being kind and being a nice person? Because I think being a nice person is what is eating a lot of men in our today's society.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'll borrow from what Dr. Rocco told us when he was doing his presentation, right? For women, accept, right? They ask you a question, uko kunakaa kunyesha, tell them, hey, na hii mawingu vile naona ikienda, kunaenda kunyesha, right? Because at the end of the day, just as he has said, using the two hemispheres, the left and the right? So, in most cases, they'll want to ask questions and get answers, right? And I'll just still go back to what he said. Accept, no matter even if it's right or wrong, but you've given her a response. But now coming back to this particular question, I want to say that we have what we call boundaries, right? We need to be able to define the type of boundaries we have. Is it healthy boundaries? Is it porous boundaries? And is it rigid boundaries? Rigid boundaries from the word rigid, right? You know how when somebody is rigid, how they are, right? Porous boundaries, these are lets anything inside, right? You don't have restrictions. Healthy boundaries is when to know how to say no and when to say yes to something, right? Because at the end of the day, Dr. Makumba has talked about women not being able to know to differentiate between kindness and empathy. One thing I want us to know, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? The same way you need to show self-compassion to yourself, you need to show also compassion to the people around you. But remember, you come first, and you can't pour from an empty cup. There must be something in your cup before you pour it outside. And whenever you are pouring in another or somebody else's cup, what are you leaving in your cup? And this still comes back to boundaries, whereby we need to define our boundaries in our social relationships, in our romantic relationships, and with our colleagues at work. And this is whereby I usually also bring in the aspect of colleagues. Because in most cases, we usually say, at work, we don't have friends, we just have colleagues, right? Can you work with your enemy in the same space, right? The only thing is that you have boundaries. You know what to share with him, and you know what to share with him to what extent, right? Maybe with him it's like, hey, good morning, how are you today? You look nice, we start our work, right? But with him, hey, how are you today? Yesterday you are not okay. What's the issue? You sit down, talk about the issue with him. But with the other one, you didn't talk about the issue. You left it where it was, right? So I usually believe, yes, people are friends, but we have boundaries, right? Because I don't believe we can exist in a space whereby you are working with your enemies, right? You'll not even be productive, right? So we need to be able to define the type of boundaries we have in our relationship. And that's what will guide us to greater heights. And just also be able to protect our mental health status.
There's I think the other two, there's this question. Mental wellness is giving every aspect of life, professional, life, social, etc., enough time. How is enough time measured in every aspect? While stress hormone is eradicated through crying, if you don't cry, does it mean they are accumulated through your lifetime? I think you have answered that. The disparity between the left and right hemisphere in men and women, was it created that way, or it develops over time?
So looking at that particular question about the left and right hemisphere, as we all know, there's nothing we created, right? As it was created is how we are conditioned, right? So at the end of the day, there are those distinct features in men and women, right? So that's how we are. That's who we are. As Dr. Rocco explained, the difference between the two hemispheres, that's how our brain is. And each hemisphere has specific roles that they play, right? And just as he explained, the right is more on the men's side and the left more on the women's side, more developed, right? So that's how it is. And we are usually told the human brain develops fully. A man's human brain develops fully after the age of 25, right? Which is also true, right? Because these are scientifically proven, right? So at the end of the day, that's how we are born. Because you'll just come to find that, yes, you are born that way, but the environment that we stay in and live in also plays a key factor on how these particular parts of the brain, or how our brain also develops much faster.
Thank you. I think I won't read all the questions because most of the questions are repetitive. But if in any case you have anything that is burning that you feel it has not been responded, you can just take a few seconds with Mr. Salali and he'll be able to respond to them.
Between a warm bath and a cold bath, which one is good? Let me explain in terms of going to sleep. Whenever one is going to sleep, it's usually recommended for one to have a warm bath. We have a hormone called melatonin hormone responsible for sleep. So whenever you have a warm bath, it helps in the inhibition of this melatonin hormone. And you'll end up falling asleep much faster compared to somebody who has taken a cold bath, right? And that's why it's recommended. Even light. We are usually told whenever we decide we are moving into our bedrooms to sleep or into our beds, we need to put our phone away at least 30 minutes or 1 hour. Because whenever the light reflects on our face, it hinders the hormone responsible for sleep, the melatonin hormone. And you'll end up taking much longer time to fall asleep compared to somebody who is in a dark room and a well-kept room or a neat room. Yes. So whenever you're going to sleep, a warm bath is usually recommended.
Thank you, Salali, for your response. Unless, is there any burning questions? I don't want to leave just the two of you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I've learned something about solitude. Solitude and silence triggers the production of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. I'm asking, my question is, good producers like to be in solitude and they like keeping silent and they're achieving their goals. Now, okay, what you've taught us here, to isolate yourself is not good. It can cause a lot of problems to your brain, see? So what can you tell us about that? The second question is this. Dr. talked about good food, eh? Or what did he say? I think indigenous food. Eh? But right now, okay, the science and the white man, they have a lot of science telling us our soil is tired. And they're bringing in a lot of chemicals to upgrade our soil. And these chemicals are not good to our health. So what can we do about it? Because we see most of us Africans, we are not very rich, and especially in town, to go and buy organic food. What can we do about this?
Thank you for that.
Excuse, before you respond, let me get the questions, then respond at once. Yeah. Kindly, time is running out, we keep it short.
Happy Sabbath. Swali la kwanza nilikuwa nauliza, in dealing with the stress, mental illness or mental wellness, where does God come in? And then where is the place of prayer and maybe reading the Bible in dealing with stress and mental illness?
Thank you, that's a very good question.
My question is of crying concern. Is it wise to invite my wife to cry together because we are one flesh? Thank you.
Wow, that's powerful. I saw one question behind here. Yes.
Ningependa kuuliza daktari swali moja. Wakati alisimama alisema this generation needs conversation. Sasa spare the rod, spoil the child. Is that really working? Because akisema kuongea na mtoto tu kuuliza swali and at what age unaweza maybe discipline mtoto na kidogo.
Okay. I think last one. Yeah.
Happy Sabbath. Happy day. I have a question. Kuna pali mko daktari alikuwa amesema about secrets, like if you have a wife you should tell her everything. If I have a property somewhere, I should say I have a property. But my question is this. Is it okay to associate secrets with negativity? Is that okay? Like all secrets should be associated with negativity. And if that is so, I believe that we serve a God of secrets somehow, because ukisoma kitabu ya Deuteronomy kuna inasema those things that are revealed to us, they are for us and our children. Ukisoma kuna pahali penye Yesu anasema kwamba kuna mambo naweza waambia lakini hamwezi kuyamudu. So I believe like kama ni how are you going also to reconcile with Proverbs chapter 11 verse 13 and also, or these secrets, am I going to tell them until I can keep secret? Mimi sioni, like if I have a property somewhere and not telling them, because sometimes when we interact with our women, I feel sometimes they are not ready for these things. So if they are not ready, sioni haja ya kumwambia I have a property somewhere. So is it okay to associate secrets with negativity?
Thank you so much.
I can start responding. My brother asked a good question about isolation. So, whenever you are isolating, you need always to ask yourself some questions. What's the reason why I'm isolating? Right? Is it because it's caused by someone? Is it because I want to have a me time to self-reflect? Right? Or is it because I'm running away from something? Right? That will be able to tell us the reason why we are self-isolating. If it's something caused by people, something you've caused, it's not a good thing to self-isolate. But if you are isolating a little bit for self-reflection, it's good, right? So we have to understand what's the reason why we are self-isolating, right? Because it's there that we'll get to know the answer and what's the issue that's making us self-isolate. Because sometimes you might just need to have your me time. And it's usually good. Every day you have your alone time. I usually call it me time. To self-reflect. I usually have this in the evening, whereby I look at how the day was, what I did right, and what I didn't do right, and how I want the next day to be, by planning using how I performed the previous day, right? So in the evening we can adapt, even if it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes, have a me time to self-reflect, right? And then coming to my brother about prayer, you'll come to find that there's a thin line that separates psychology and, for example, the scripture. A very thin line, right? But at the end of the day, prayer is a self-care activity, right? Prayer can help you address stressful situations, right? By just the way we are here. We've spent a good time together. We've learned a lot. We've prayed together. And I believe even if you had a small issue somewhere, you have that hope and faith that things might turn out well. So it's also a self-care activity because it provides that nourishment. You feel like the Lord is being taken away, right? So prayer is a good self-care activity, and it's also a way on how we can engage in just being able to address some of the stressful situation, because it can also be a diversion technique, right? Because you've left quite a number of things unattended to, and you decided to be here today, right? To take part in this. Sindio? So looking at it, has it been of value to you or not of value to you? You'll find that it has been of value to you, right? And then my brother over there talked about calling the wife to cry together. And I'll say it's a high time that we create a culture, we bring our kids in an environment whereby they'll understand that doing these things is okay, and it's okay not to be okay, right? Because at the end of the day, if we still base every argument we have on the traditional ideas surrounding the gender stereotypes, you'll find that we are in a different century, right? And things are changing. And you'll find that by doing that and encouraging phrases such as men should man up is what is preventing women from coming forward to talk about our issues or appreciating something like crying, right? So, if you feel safe crying around your wife and she's comfortable, that's okay. Because some won't be comfortable to see their men crying, right? Some will be comfortable. Some won't be comfortable. But it's us to bring a culture whereby they are able to understand that this is a normal process and every human being, be it men or women, can partake in it, right? And it's a way of just expressing yourself and getting that sense of relaxation and calm. So I can say, if your wife is comfortable, you crying around her, well and good. If she's not comfortable, look for conducive environment, right? Be able to cry. What I just don't advocate, and also she'll not advocate for that, ni kulialia. Sindio? Yes. And then as I come to my brother the other side, and I want to come from far as I respond to his question. Most of us usually get into relationships or marriages because our friends have gotten married, because our friends have kids, our parents want to have us to have kids. They start telling us, nazeeka, fanya mambo haraka haraka, sindio? And then we get into the trap without being financially stable and emotionally stable, right? And this is where I come from. I usually say, marry a friend. Take time. Know the type of person you're having, right? You are getting in marriage with. Because this will help in terms of you being open to them or you keeping secrets, right? Because if you marry a friend, it will be difficult for you to keep secret from them. Because you will be able to know them inside out. Yes, there's this notion that we usually say, men will never know women to full or to completion, right? Even if I ask any of my elders here, do you know your wife? Well, he'll tell me, simjui vizuri, right? But if you ask his wife, do you know your husband? She'll very quickly, huyu namjua vizuri. Leo akirudi, kwanza akivaa hii suti, atarudi amekasirika sana. Right? But women, we don't know them that much. Right? And this comes back to, we should always take time. Get to know the person we are getting in marriage with and not be pushed around. Right? Because everybody has their own time. Right? Are you financially stable? Are you emotionally stable? Or you are that person, acha tu tuoane Mungu atasaidia. Right? You need to be in a position whereby you are stable emotionally and financially. And when it comes to the issue of keeping secrets, we are usually told a secret is only for one person. Right? But at the end of the day, provided you followed through this process up to the letter, you'll find that there's no need of keeping a secret because you will be trusting this person, you'll be open to them, you'll be willing to share whatever you are going through or whatever is affecting you or eating you up with them in order to be able to get a solution, right? So at the end of the day, Dr. Rocco talked about keeping secrets. The more you keep this negative news inside you, right? Maybe it's something, and I talked about a problem shared is a problem half solved. Maybe it's a problem that can be solved by your friend, maybe a brother, right? Or maybe a colleague. It's usually good to share. But we look at this problem. If I share this problem with you, how is it benefiting you and how is it benefiting me? Right? Yes, there's this thing I want to share. But will it benefit you? And me sharing this particular problem with you, is it going to benefit me in return? Right? Because at the end of the day, it has to be something mutual. Either you are benefiting from whatever I'm sharing with you, or I'll benefit from whatever I'm willing to share with you. Right? But at the end of the day, keeping secret is not good. But living a good and simple open life is good and down to earth. Right? Whereby you do things as per the book. You do things as you know they are in the right direction or they are right things. Yes.
Thank you so much, Salali. And before I call Daktari for just one or two reactions, then we leave to the clergy. I just like to just reemphasize on your question. Even by the constitution of this country, it defines health in a holistic approach: physical, mental, and emotional. Then there's not the absence of a disease only or affirmities. But now there's research which was done by various psychologists or people in the mental space, where it shows for you to have a proper health set, you must have 4 spheres that has to be taken care of. One is your mindset. Mindset is this what you're talking about, your mental well-being. Are you mindful about it? And when you're being mindful about it, it means you're not self-isolating. Self-isolating comes from stress factors. You're withdrawing from your normal activities and social interactions that you normally have. When you self-isolate, it means if perhaps maybe our chorister is known to lead the services, you find, or someone is in the choir, they start retracting back from their normal activities which they normally do. But when you're mindful and you're self-reflective, it means you are taking time from your normal routine setting to take time from your self-reflection. You're mindful about your situation. You're in control of the environment. You're in control of your emotions. You try to reflect, this thing happened today, I reacted this way, or how best should I act in future? So it's continuous improvement. The way Salari said in the morning, we should not compete with other people, but we should compete amongst ourselves. If you reflect back 1 year ago, or yesterday, or last week, have I improved on myself? If yes, then you're on the right track. If no, you look for other mechanism on how to improve yourself. Going back to your question, there are 4 hemispheres. We have the mindset. We have the soul set. This was done by a non-Christian person, but he was saying soul set is spiritual. If you're a believer, you're a Christian, then the scriptures or the doctrinations that you believe in empowers your mental capacity. Despite that, we have what we call your health set. Your health set is your physical well-being. It cannot be separated from your mental wellness. In this, you need also to work on your body. When you work on your body, it boosts a certain protein in your brain called BDNF, I think, which helps to regenerate your neurons, which Dr. was speaking about. By regenerating your neurons, it expands. There was a research that was done which shows our brain can expand and gain more knowledge. It repairs itself, neuroplasticity. In babies, it's called neurogenesis, most of it because they are growing. They form more neurons. We have the hippocampus, creates more memory. But you as an adult, you need to keep your body in a physical well form. In the physical well form also as an aspect of nutrition. I think this church has a very strong foundation when it comes to nutrition and healthy living and how we should take care of our body. So we have the mindset, we have the health set, that is the physical being, the soul set, the spiritual, then the heart set. Your emotions, they need to be in check. You need to have a life balance. So there's no specified time for this. But in science, when it comes to physical wellness, they recommend for those ones to keep fit 30 minutes for 3 days. Or you can do 150 minutes in a week. That is enough. For those who want to lose weight, it goes a little bit higher compared to the minimum for maintaining a well-balanced physical body. Then the purpose of these teachings which you have been doing, one is to learn and keep on growing. By learning, you have various options to make awareness, better awareness. The second thing, once you have better awareness, it will lead to better execution by implementing the right things. The way Dr. is saying, one stressor can lead to a snowballing of events. If you're making wrong decision in this thing, you'll make wrong decisions in your family, you'll make wrong decisions in your finances, you'll make wrong decisions also in your social networks. And lastly, if you have better executions and better choices, you have a pool of options that you have in place, you'll have better results. This can come from the impact that you have, the kind of relationship that we have, even in church, how you address people, how you respond to them. Because what the message that has come out strongly, you don't owe the world anything, and the world doesn't owe anything. So you should draw the difference between being a nice person and being kind. Being nice is whereby you have been called for a chama, or you have been called for something to contribute, you can't say no. And literally you don't have the money. It's not wrong to say, I don't have this time, but next time I'm going to contribute. But whereby you contribute and you feel a pang of bitterness in your heart, look, the Lord loves a cheerful giver, but you're giving and you're not cheerful, it means you're being a nice person. When you're told do this and it goes beyond your normal norms, then you're being nice. So you should have the courage of saying the complete sentences, no. And which part of no don't you understand? Is it the N or the O? So that's how you practice. You practice mechanism of not self-sabotaging yourself. I think I'll welcome Daktari for just a comment. Then from there, I'll hand over the program to the clergy.
Thank you. You know, as the saying goes that as doctors we treat and God heals. There's this story where a surgeon operated a patient who had come at the verge of dying because the patient had what we call intestinal obstruction. In simple language, matumbo ilikuwa imefungana. Matumbo ikifungana inaanza kuoza. If you're not taken to theater on time, you will actually die. So the surgeon did operation yenye ilikuwa imeoza, kakata katupa, kaunganisha ile ni mzuri. And this patient walked home okay, alive and well. The following weekend, during a church service, akapeleka ng'ombe kanisani akasema, Pastor, asante kwa kuniombea na kuniponya. Sasa mimi niko sawa. Kama si maombi yako, ningekuwa nimeku. And the doctor's fee was not paid because the family said, hatuna pesa, sasa turuhusu tuende. Kuna watu wanaita social worker in hospitals, wana recommend waiver. Wakaangalia akasema nyewe, wacha tu waive aende nyumbani. Lakini ng'ombe I don't want to elaborate, but that I'm saying, doctors and the scripture, we work together because the mind of a human being equally responds to the word of God. So there is a big role of the word of God in issues of mental health. And we work together. Actually, in Tranquil Med Center, we do have sessions for spiritual programs whereby, depending on the condition of the clients we have on board, if they are Muslims, their religious leaders come on board and they read a Quran. We have sections for Quran reading, we have sections for prayer. So it is intertwined. At the end of the day, what we are interested for is good outcomes. It doesn't matter who has done it. If we are able to save somebody's life, for us, that is our happiness. Who did it is not really a matter of concern. At the end of the day, we are focusing on preserving life. We are focusing on good outcomes. There's another question which came up about spare the child and spare the rod and spoil the child, about generation issues. As I said, things have changed. We are moved away from that story in terms of the developmental changes which have happened in these brains. And there's nothing we can do about it. It is how the brain has been developed. Engage more in conversations. You tend to have good outcomes. I've seen parents forcing their children to be accountants because they think accounting pays more or pays better. It's not about what they will do. It's about being happy in what they will be doing. I met another parent last year, came with his daughter, and the daughter wants to kill herself. She was in Strathmore University. Why does she want to kill herself? Because she wants to be a model. But the father is a strong Christian. Amesema, a model in my house or my dead body. Because the father believes being a model is equal to being immoral. And the God has said, kama mimi sitakuwa model, mimi najiua. But we're able to discuss and say being immoral is not about your career, it's about your character. We still have careers where you think professionalism, lakini people are immoral. So when the father understood that being immoral is about the character, we agreed the daughter to proceed and be a model. And now she performed so well, she's already in the US doing modeling. And the father is enjoying the fruits of her daughter. Anatembea anasema, hey, my daughter amenitumia gari. Remember, the children, how their brain works, is about dialogue. It's about conversations. Don't be rigid in how we handle them. Another one I want to respond to is about food. And in each food question that came up. I have a friend who works with Interpol, and they were telling me there are doctors who've been put in various research institutions in the Western world. I want to mention the name of the country. And their role is to come up with chemicals which can be put in the food being sent to Africa for purposes of inducing diseases in Africans, for Africans to be sick over time, so that when you become sick, who are the manufacturers of medicine? When you become sick, we'll consume more of their medicines. In the process, we buy and they make more money. It's about the pharma industry getting more money through us Africans. There's nothing wrong with our soil. Our soil has been spoiled by the fertilizers that we have been buying over time. When we grew up, our soil was good without a drop of fertilizer. Unapanda mahindi inatoka ikiwa tatu. Na hakuna fertilizer umeweka hata kidogo. Umefuga tu ng'ombe zinatembea hapo, zinakula nyasi zinalala hapa, zinakula nyasi una change zinaenda side nyingine. The soil was fertile. What has happened to our soil? Is it just that the soil has turned from nowhere to be infertile? Because over time we have conditioned our soil to depend on these manufactured artificial fertilizers. And that's what's affecting the production. And that's now we have to put fertilizer for it to grow. Because already things have been damaged. If we are able, I said if we are able to consume indigenous food, if we are able, let's do it. If we are not able, let's reduce manufactured food. It is a ticking time bomb. That one I can tell you. And over time, you will see more people getting more diseases and therefore requiring a lot of medications to sort it out. Some of the problems we go through is because of maybe the childhood trauma we experienced. Maybe we were raised by cruel people. Maybe we faced a level of rejection at family level, maybe nuclear or extended. And in the process, we have grown up with resentments. But I can tell you in Tranquil Med Center, we solve all that. Some people have gone through levels of trauma and they have developed what we call post-traumatic stress disorders, whereby you're constantly feeling low, you're constantly having low self-esteem, you're constantly doubting yourself, doubting your capabilities. At Tranquil Med Center, we handle all that. In fact, there's a new medicine we now use in solving chronic post-traumatic stress disorders. We call it ketamine inhibition. How it works, it improves your neurons to produce more happy hormones. And naturally, we improve your capacity. and your ability of your body to produce more happy hormones. So which means then you'll be able to go through life feeling happy and more resilient situations which you are facing. Here in Tranquil Med Center, we handle our issues at family. We do have marriage therapy sessions there. We do couple counseling. You know, sometimes in marriage is where people get a certificate without going to any school. And get there and people begin having troubles because you do not understand even the person you stay with. So we also train on personalities, how to identify who you are as a person and how do you manage yourself. For example, kuna watu sukari ikiwa chini wanakuwa wakali, wanakasirika haraka, wanaweza hata kukupiga ngumi. Ukimwelewa namna hiyo, ukiona anaanza kukasirika, upatie glass ya juice, upatie kasoda, Fanta akunywe sukari ikuwe level na atakuwa tu mtu mzuri. You know? So understanding yourself and understanding the people you stay with, being self-aware and being aware of the people you live with is also helping to reduce conflicts. So in Tranquil, we also help screen for personalities to help you identify who you are, help you identify different types of personalities and how they behave. Ndio ukiona huyu anakaa namna hiyo unajua hii ni personality fulani and this is how I can manage it. We also help children, students in school who are facing a crisis using substances. Ukiona mtoto ameanza kukataa shule, anasema nibadilishe nipeleke shule nyingine, before you do it, bring them to us. We may discover an issue that will help you prevent a crisis from happening in the future. We also do programs in schools whereby we educate the young people on how to grow up and how to improve their mental resilience and how to have a comfortable life. So we have quite a number of programs in Tranquil Med Center, and I think you'll be given the contacts. If you have time, you can visit, you can give a call, and we'll be able to provide solutions and tailor-make solutions which are fit for you, depending on which situations you are facing in life. Thank you so much. I can talk and talk. I told you, used to make a noise. So if you give me time, I may talk for the whole day, non-stop. But because of time, let me stop there. And thank you, Daktari, for inviting me. I look forward to having another opportunity in the future to share more knowledge. Because as I said, in the book of Hosea 6, my people perish due to lack of knowledge. Na singependa muperish, ndio maana nawapea knowledge. Asante sana.
We have come to the tail end of the today's AMO Ministries Station Rally, and I believe everyone has been touched in a different way or in a different capacity. As the word goes, mtabibu mkoni nani? Mtabibu mkoni nani? In everything, we should put all our cries and worries to who? As Matthew 11:28 says, 28:11 says, cast all your burdens and worries to God, and He shall give us rest. So, thank you so much for making time, Daktari, and your team. We don't take this as, for granted as a Naivasha rally station. It has I don't know how many churches, but Pastor Magwat elaborates. I think over 31 churches are represented here. And I'm sure all the men here, they're going to carry the message back to their different churches, different districts, and they're going to disseminate what you've learned today. It's very powerful. I've also learned there's always something new to learn if you want to improve yourself. True or false? So, mimi nitakaribisha Pastor Magu aweze kutufungia.
Mngesemaje kwa mafundisho ya mchana wa leo? Mngesemaje? Yaani nashukuru sana kwa ajili ya madaktari wetu wakiongozwa na Daktari Oroko kuwa pamoja nasi tangu asubuhi. We don't take it for granted. May God bless you. Kabla hatuja climax, naomba niweze kumkaribisha mchungaji Modashi. Kama jinsi nilivyowaambia asubuhi, yeye ndiye kiongozi wa Adventist Men katika Central Rift Valley Conference, lakini akawa na shughuli zingine asubuhi, akasema atafika mchana kwa ajili ya muda, kwa sababu ni saa 11:30 na najua tunaenda bali. Daktari, station yetu imecover the 2 constituencies, Naivasha constituency and Girigiri constituency or sub counties. Na kwa hivyo kuna watu wataenda bali sana mpaka Elementaita ambao wako hapa. Kwa hivyo nashukuru sana kwa ajili ya utulivu wenu. Kitu tunafanya saa hii ni closing remarks, lakini kabla ya hiyo naomba tu Pastor Modashi atuletee salamu. Pia amekuja na mchungaji, taweza kumtujuzu pia tusalimie. Asante. Kwa dakika mbili tu atusalimie kisha tuendelee.
Asante. Adventist Men na wasalimu wa mjambo. So nikisema Adventist Men mnasema Men of Impact. Nikisema Men of Impact mnasema Adventist Men, Men of Impact. Wanaume wa Adventista mnasema wanaume wa maana. Wanaume wa maana. Hallelujah. So thank you very much our station director, Pastor, our senior pastor, for your welcoming. And tumekuja na pastor wetu, Pastor Orimba Job. Ningependa tu tuchukue less than 5 minutes because of time. Salimia watu wa Mungu.
Wazee mjambo. Asanteni sana.
Asante. Jambo la pili ni kwamba I want to appreciate our doctors. In fact, our kweli ndio madaktari. Unajua sometime in our churches, whenever we do election, tunafika department ya health, tunasema wacha huyu mzee awe kiongozi wa health. Sasa akianza kufundisha health anasema aje kunywa maji. Kunywa nini? Maji. Na anaulizwa maji kiasi gani? Anasema hata 30 liters. Daktari mmoja akasema there is a disease known as water toxination. When you take more water, unapata ugonjwa ambao hujaiona. So ni kwamba thank you very much for, in fact I will be here but because of some commitment I went to Narok. Nikajaribu sana nikuje nione hata Naivasha site and the Men of Impact. Thank you very much daktari. I wish now I doubt maybe you people, maybe sio madaktari tu kawaida, maybe they are lecturing somewhere, because nowadays mambo ya mental health especially kwa wanaume ni hatari. There is another thing is mambo ya health issues. Ndio ninauliza ni nani huwa wanatangulia kwenda? Ni wamama ama wazee? Ni wanaume ndio wanafanya nini? Because mwanaume vile daktari amesema, ukilala, mwanaume akilala hajalala. Kichwa tu ina ring kang 24/7. Na mwanamke unamwambia asubuhi imepambasuka, yeye anaona tu amekunywa chai, ndio hiyo ameenda kazi, ndio hiyo kufika jioni kama ni kulala amefanya nini? Lakini wewe unalala haulali. So thank you very much daktari. We wish, I think our station director na viongozi wengine, one day one time let us emphasize hii mambo ya ya Adventist Men Rally, because now niliwaambia, now it is confirmed Adventist men, it is not yet an organization. It is not. It is what? It is a ministry. Kuna women ministry, kuna children ministry, but so far now tuko na nini? Inaitwa Adventist Men Ministry, AMM. Mambo ya amo imefanya nini? Meisha. So every church, na ni vizuri sana sometime tunaenda kando kidogo, tunajifunza. Licha ya kwamba we used to preach that Jesus is coming very soon. Yes, Jesus is coming very soon. Lakini bado hajafika. Lazima tuangalie mambo ya health, hizo vitu zingine, tusaidie watu wetu. Tuko na watu, Christian Service inasema ya kwamba kuna Mungu analete watu wa vitengo mbalimbali in the church. Wengine economist, wengine medical practitioners, na wengine na pastors. So ningependa tu kusema ya kwamba I am so happy. Mungu awabariki sana. Mimi kwa majina ni Pastor Mundashi David, in charge of personal ministry and Amo. Na Amo this year wameenda, kuna wale wameenda Rwanda trip na kuna wale wameenda Israel, wanaenda by 22nd. So ni kwamba let us, tukisikia tena ya kwamba there is a convention, tutaenda pale. Mungu awabariki sana. Tukienda tuchukue nini? Amani ya Bwana iwe pamoja nanyi.
Mngesemaje kwa kiongozi alienda Narok na akaona ni vyema aweze kupita hapa akitusalimia, anaporudi ofisini apeleke nini? Asante sana. Najua kila mmoja wetu angetamani apate nafasi.
Sorry to interrupt. There's a registration form from Tranquil, wageni wetu ilikuwa inaenda round. Kama uko nayo na kama hujasign unaweza sign, uandike your email address na namba yako ya simu. They usually run promotions, do team building na other activities. Maybe you can be getting alerts from their center. Asante.
Kuna yule ambaye kuna hiyo form karibu naye, labda ambaye haijafika pande hii. Kama uko nayo inua mkono. Ndio moja hapa. Another question, kuna yule ambaye hajaipata, haijapitia kwake, inua mkono. Kuna wale ambao ni wachache ambao hawajapata. Sijui kama kuna mmoja anaweza kutusaidia. Nyota, unaweza kutusaidia upiki moja upelekee wale wenye hawajajaza. Hebu huyu akusaidie. Akusaidie huko kujaza. Asante. Basi tunapofanya hivyo, naomba kwa niaba ya wazee wote, kwa niaba ya wazee wote nimwalike kiongozi wetu, our representative wa Daundongo, aseme vote of thanks kwa wageni wetu na kwa kila mmoja. In 2 minutes time ndio tuende kumaliza mkutano. Naomba tu tuweze kutulia kwa dakika 2. Najua masaa imeenda, lakini tunaenda kumaliza. Elder.
Asante pastor. Wapendwa katika Kristo, na wasalimu katika jina la Yesu. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Haleluya. Wangapi wamebarikiwa siku ya leo? Asante. Kwa haraka sana, kwa niaba ya Naivasha Station Adventist Men Ministry, ningependa kutoa vote of thanks. Kwanza ningependa kushukuru Mungu kwa kutupatia nafasi. Yeye ndiye ametuwezesha tukaweza kukusanyika mahali hapa. Tunasema ni asante kwa Mwenyezi Mungu. Jambo la pili, I wish to say thank you to our guests wakiongozwa na Dr. Oroko. We've expanded our uhusiano yetu, our connectivity we only knew Dr. Evans. Na kikwetu mara nyingi tunasema ya kwamba kiwa umezoea kwenyu unafikiria mama yako ndiye anajua kupika. So Dr. Evans akatuletea Dr. Oroko and some more professionals wana Naivasha station. Tumefaidika kwao ama hatujafaidika? So Daktari, we are grateful and we say with a lot of humility, thank you. We knew you through Evans. After this, utasikia tu simu kutoka kwa Pastor Magu. Kwa sasa network imeongezeka. Watakuita tu. When you get our call, please just respond and come to feed the children of God. Daktari Evans, we are grateful. We are grateful. It is good to have one of your own. Ukiwa na mmoja wenu atawa connect. Bila Evans atungejua vile tunaweza kufikia daktari na hawa wenzake. Mungu akubariki sana. I would like also to say thank you to our guest speaker, Daktari Tinega. The Bible is new every day. We've read, tumehubiriwa mambo ya Jacob na Laban, and leo, today it came in a different dimension. Sini kweli? Daktari, God bless you so much. Mungu akubariki anapoendelea kukutumia katika shamba lake. Pastor Mudashi, thank you so much. God bless you. And this is the second time, Pastor. Pastor Magu, unakumbuka last year when we had a similar rally, akawa na tena engagement in Narok. We are praying next this chain ikatwe. Next time tukiwa na rally tuweze kukupata. Amina. Ningependa kusema thank you kwa our station director and our AMO leader Eldorao for the well coordinated meeting. Mungu awabariki sana. There is more that unites us than what divides us. So when we have a function like this, it is for our own good. Amina. Mungu awabariki sana. Least but not last, ni ya kwamba kama hao wageni wangekuja na nyinyi mkose kukuja, tungekuwa na mkutano. We are grateful to wanaamo kukuja na kujiunga pamoja nasi. Ninapomaliza, pastor amesimama. I just want to stress two things. One, pastor alitangaza asubuhi, we have crusade going on in Kasambara. That is the mission why we are here. Let us take that gospel and pray for that event. Jambo la pili, ile ya Mahela pia aliguzia. We are almost landing somewhere. La mwisho, we have our conference activity on 15th. Kila kanisa, kila district wako na hiyo information. Tafadhali tushughulikie. As a station, let us meet on 21st during the music extravaganza. God bless you. Thank you, Pastor.
Tungesemaje kwa kiongozi wetu? Nashukuru sana. Naomba pia nilete salamu za kiongozi wetu ambao ni the advisor wa Adventist Men Ministry, Pastor Dr. Ivan Zaoga. Niliwaambia asubuhi alipata emergency, actually alikuwa na mgonjwa, na anasema ya kwamba mgonjwa amehudumiwa na aliweza kutoka dieta leo. Bwana asifiwe. Kwa hivyo ameniambia nitume salamu za upendo wa Kristo. Amewamiss, alitamani sana kuwa hapa, na actually wametusaidia sana wakiwa na kiongozi wa AMO kuweza kuona mipango yote imeenda vizuri tukiwa tumeshirikiana. Naomba Mungu wa baraka aweze kumbariki pia mahali alipo. Kiongozi wa AMM kuanzia leo sio AMO, AMM kuja utoa tangazo moja ukisema asante, ukisalimia wazee. Huyo ndiye kiongozi wetu wa AMM Naivasha Station mwaka huu, na amefanya kazi kubwa ya kucoordinate pia mkutano huu. Naomba tusalimie akitoa tangazo alio nao, ndio tufanye maombi.
So kabla nifanye tangazo, nisipotaja wale tumefanya nayo kazi, hiyo itakuwa irresponsibility. So wale wote tumepanga nayo, nataka msimame haraka viongozi wetu wa district vile tumefanya nayo, wote ambao wako hapa wasimame ndio muone. So kuna wale tayari wameenda. Mungu awabariki kwa sababu ya coordination hii tumefanya nao pamoja. Kuna wengi nimewapigia simu, na nilipopiga simu the response was positive, and that is why we are here today. So Mungu azidi kuwabariki, tunapowahitaji mkumbuke kuitika. Now, because of this good gathering, we have another activity that is coming on the 20th of July. We're going to have a social Sunday. That has never been. So kwa sababu wazee wako na kazi mingi vile umeambiwa hapa. So I think that's another good opportunity ya kuweza kupunguza nini? Hata tunaweza cheza hata mpira. We are going to look at what we can do so that tunapunguza stress. That is our aim. When we call upon you, come that time, tafadhali msitu let down. Coming September, that's the final activity that we're going to have, 27th of September, tutakuwa na AMO Music Sabbath. That's another one that we have never had. AMO Music Sabbath. Wazee, bila tumekaa hivi, hakuna kuleta soprano nini, ni sisi tu hapa. Tutakuwa tu hapa na tutajipanga vizuri, tutawaambia. So it will be, that is meant to improve the number of men in our local churches, in our choirs. So tunapanga hiyo na tutawaambia. It is already in the wale ambao kwa wall unaona hapo. Mungu abariki kila mmoja ambaye amechangia kwa kila njia. La mwisho, it was our worry that we would fail. You know, when we met big names like Dr. Oroko, the other time we invited a big name like Maraga. So, you know, big names, sometimes you keep on wondering, watakuwa kweli? Watakuwa? Kila siku tunapiga simu. So, thank God that our meetings have ever been blessed. Na mbarikiwe mnapoenda, Mungu azidi kuwabariki. Amen.
So, nashukuru sana kiongozi, ubarikiwe. Wazee wote kwa jina la Yesu, Bwana wabariki. Actually kuja kwenu vile tulikuwa tumejaa asubuhi, roho yangu ilijaa furaha. Mungu wetu aweze kuwabariki. Washungaji ambao tumekuwa pamoja nao, Pastor Paleyo, Pastor Kivunja ambaye ametoka Kindogo, na wa hosting pastor naitwa nani? Pastor Matundura. Asante sana. Mungu wetu aweze kuwabariki sana. Na washukuru pia kwa sababu tumeweza kumuona wa kansela pale, daktari. Hofu yangu ni ya kwamba naona kama masaa imeenda na sio wote wamehudumiwa. Sijui kama tutaongea na daktari ya kwamba wenye walikuwa kwa list labda wanaweza wakaenda kule bila malipo. Kwa hivyo Mungu wetu aweze kuwabariki. And we are looking forward to have another day like this ambao madaktari tutakuwa pamoja nanyi. Actually muda ndio umekuwa mfupi. Mungu wetu aweze kuwabariki. Naomba tusimame wote. Isaya, tuongoze wimbo namba 16, stanza ya kwanza na ya mwisho. Our guest speaker atufungie kwa ombi. Kuna mtu amesahau kalamu yake hapa, tunaitangaza hii karamu. Asante sana, ni Elda, asante. Namba 16 stanza ya kwanza na ya mwisho, tupate maombi ya kufunga mkutano wetu.
Bwana ninakuhitaji, sing. Bwana ninakuhitaji, ni mpofu maskini, unishike mkononi, kwako napata nguvu kila saa, kila saa. Bwana ninakuhitaji kila saa, kila saa, unilinde kila saa. Na ikiwa mbeleni sehemu yangu ngumu, au ikiwa furaha, unilinde kila saa, kila saa, kila saa. Bwana ninakuhitaji kila saa, kila saa, unilinde kila saa.
Kabla sijaomba, ningependa pia kushukuru kwa mwaliko Elda Orao na timu yako, Pastor Magu na wengine, our host pastor, station lay representative. Thank you for accepting to have me here. Secondly, I want to challenge you ya kwamba njia tutakayokuwa ni hiyo ambayo viongozi wanatangaza, tuhusike kwa ministry katika hizo makrusade. Na ningeomba hata kwa amo hii tupange another ministry in the prison. Our men are there who need to be lifted by hope. Secondly also kwa mashule yetu. Nilipotoka hapa nilienda Naivasha Girls, mahali ambapo kuna rally mzuri sana. There are 12 schools gathered there ambao wanaendelea kufanya kazi mzuri. I also do that in Nakuru. This year, the other year I invited CJ. This year he also gave me a guest, and then we had 40 schools. So nilienda hapo kuwashukuru. Many of these schools came over there in Nakuru where I organized these rallies. Mungu awabariki. Tunaomba. Baba yetu Mungu mwema, tunakushukuru kwa sababu umetuhakikishia ya kwamba unatupenda upeo. Kupitia kwa hekima ya viongozi ulioweka kwa ofisi hii ya idara ya wazee, wameweka mikakati yote kupanga na kuhakikisha mkutano huu umeleta sifa kwa jina lako. Tunaomba uwabariki pamoja na hawa wazee ambao walikubali kuja na kukaa hapa, wamedumu siku mzima. Wanaporudi Bwana, warudi na mibaraka yako. Wanaposafiri kwenda nyumbani wakitumia njia mbalimbali, ninaomba fadhili za usafiri siandamane pamoja nao. Na zaidi vile tumeimba, tunakuhitaji ili uweze kutembea pamoja nasi katika safari hii iliyo ngumu, lakini ukiwa ndani yetu tuna uhakika wa ushindi. Na kwa hiyo kumbuka kila mmoja na familia yake katika ufalme wako. Mahali pale ambapo hatukuweza kuweka vile ambavyo ulitarajia, tunaomba msamaha na kuomba Roho Mtakatifu asahihishe jinsi upendavyo. Ndio maombi kwa imani katika jina safi la Yesu Kristo Mwokozi wetu. Amen.
Kindly elders, tuwakumbushe Pathfinder directors mkutano wa kesho, tuwapigie na tukumbushe treasurers pia kutuma zile pesa tulisema kwa ajili ya evangelistic campaign na ufanyika Kasabara.